up, everybody? It is Tuesday, August 6th. All right, before I talk about the markets, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Interesting things. It blows my mind, really. But not really. I got to tell you, yesterday, a friend of mine sent me a link to an interview that Peter Schiff, we're printing money, Peter Schiff, we're printing money. An interview he did with some podcast. Now you gotta, I know a lot of you people here who post up comments, you're in love with this guy, you follow this guy now. If you know anything about this guy, and I don't know anyone who doesn't know something about this guy, his whole shtick, his whole thing has been about, America, we got so much debt, we borrow from the Chinese, we are indebted to the world, we're just printing money, the Chinese are going to stop lending to us, interest rates are going to skyrocket, the U.S. is a bankrupt nation, all this stuff. He's been saying, I met this guy in 2001, know him for 18 years. We've had many back and forths. I don't talk about him much anymore because he's a total clown. But this is his shtick. This is his thing, right? We're indebted to the world. We're a bankrupt nation. We're printing money. The dollar's going to collapse. Interest rates are going to spike because the Chinese and everybody else is not going to lend us money anymore. Well, guess what? Now this guy is saying interest rates are going to zero. Whatever happened to all the debt, and we're broke, and we're impoverished, and we're printing money, and there's going to be hyperinflation? Whatever happened to that? Now all of a sudden, interest rates are going to zero. Now the crazy thing about that, I didn't even want to do, when I did this video today, I really didn't even want to talk about this, because it's not even interesting for me, but I had to put it out there. I had to put it out there basically for one reason. Okay, for the reason of exposing what a fraud and a clown this guy is, but everybody should understand this by now. But mostly because he gets absolutely no pushback from the media. Nobody holds him accountable to his words and his statements and his prognostications. And this is really incredible. But this is the state of the financial media. It's like, for those of you who listen to CNBC or Fox Business, look, I was with Fox for 10 years. I quit. I walked away. I couldn't handle these ridiculous panels anymore. Neil Cavuto, who happens to be a nice guy personally, he is uneducatable when it comes to, he's still talking about, the debt, it worries me. Well, I tried to explain this to him 10 years ago. By the way, let me ask you a question. You would think that any person with even somewhat of a scientific mind, little bit of a scientific mind, would start to wonder why, after 30 years, 40 years almost, of the debt going exponential, up 30-fold since 1980, why we have not seen the catastrophe that they have all been predicting. And why interest rates are lower now than where are we now? At 2%, 2.25% on the Fed funds. We're at 1.7% on a 10-year. It was 20% in 1980 when interest rates, when the debt, was 800 billion. Now it's 30-fold what it was back. Anyone with a scientific mind would go back and examine their theses of why their predictions have not come true. But no, they don't do that. They just keep ranting and screaming and predicting doom and gloom. And these people, basically, it's like religion to them. They are uneducatable. All right, so that's the first thing, the Peter Schiff thing. The second thing is this other guy, Kyle Bass. And if you go here on my channel and if you search for Kyle Bass, I did a number of videos on this guy. How he was predicting the collapse of the yen because they're printing money, money. It's all the same thing with these guys. They don't understand. They don't understand the monetary system. They absolutely do not understand it. But this guy, he was short the Chinese currency since 2015. This guy was, every time he was out there on television or in any interview, he would say the Chinese currency is going to collapse, the Chinese currency is going to collapse. He was short. I give him credit for that. However, he got out of his position in May of this year. What a clown. What a joker. He got out of his position right before it actually started to work. And that's only because he was lucky on a guess, but he got out of his position. Anyway, that's all I want to say about these two guys. I mean, the realm of economics and finance and the markets is loaded with these kind of people who sell snake oil, have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. Some of them actually manage some money, which is really kind of extraordinary to watch, because you would think, who would give money to these guys? All right, that being said, let's talk about the markets. Today, we recovered about a little bit less than half of yesterday's decline. Yesterday's decline, a total panic. I did my video. I said, look, I'm trying to find the hard impact from the trade war. There has been some negative impact. There has been some subtraction from GDP in the fact that it's not working for the United States. The trade deficit is getting larger, so that component of GDP, net exports, is becoming a little bit more of a subtraction. However, the fiscal support is historic. It is monumental. We have never seen this level of fiscal support. All right? And that is the key factor in all this. It's what I continue to focus on. The minute we see that turn around, and it's really only going to turn around by some political decision. Trump and Congress would have to come together and say, we're going to do massive draconian cuts in spending. Then the whole thing reverses. But the point I should make here is that the major spending comes from 4 areas. That is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, okay, the so-called entitlements. I don't call them entitlements because people pay into those things to receive them back, and defense. So the 4 of those things combined, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and those 3 things are non-discretionary. They get paid no matter what. All right, very, very hard to cut those things if you can cut them at all. And by the way, every year the rolls of recipients are growing because you got the baby boomers retiring. So the amount of fiscal support just keeps expanding and expanding, and that's going to continue for years. And military, which is a discretionary expenditure, but not under Trump. You see, we did a $750 billion military. That doesn't even include the money we spend on wars and operations, which is well over $1 trillion. So those 4 things combined come to well over $3 trillion. That's 3/4, let's call it 60-something% of all government spending is in those 4 things. And they're not going to get cut. So you might get some marginal little cuts in some of these other programs and other departments, but the bulk of the spending is not just simply going to remain there. It's going to continue to expand. Because, by the way, military spending, that even though that's discretionary, it's treated like a non-discretionary spending item under Trump. So there you have this massive tsunami of fiscal support that is keeping the economy propped up. No other economist talking about this. Everybody's scratching their head as to why we have not seen a recession yet, except for myself. All right, everybody, enjoy. Bye-bye.